And gentlemen, welcome to part 9 of my 11-part series on the fastest checkmates in chess history. If you haven't watched parts 1 through 8 already, well, do that first. The links are in the description. So the next opening I want to show you is the French defense. I love the French defense. It's very solid. But to read some of the comments on the French defense games on chessgames.com, you'd think it was a grievous blunder. I think the logic behind calling the French defense a blunder is the same logic people use when they say pineapple doesn't belong on pizza. They just hate it because they can't believe how good it is. I'm going to show you 2 games that begin with the French defense. White and black each win one of these. So we have game number 80, W. Ivanov versus Pavel Martynov, Moscow, 1973. After e4, we have e6. There you go, top of the list. French defense, it's the best possible defense. And then white plays d4, which is the normal variation. d5 is the classical variation. And then knight c3 is the Paulsen attack. And then black goes d kills e4, which is the Rubinstein variation. See, the French defense is so commonly played. There are a lot of different named variations in it. White goes knight kills e4. And then we have knight e7. What's this one? And white plays bishop d3. Now if I play queen kills d4, he's going to play bishop b5 check and win my queen. How dumb does he think I am? So let's do g6. Oops. That's a mistake, because now white wins with knight f6, mate. Moving that g-pawn just took protection away from the f6 square, making this mate possible. The losing player here is an international master, but he was 5 years old when he lost this game, so you gotta cut him some slack. I didn't even know how to play chess when I was 5, let alone be clever enough to come up with the Rubinstein variation in the French defense. It's not a bad opening, just black's follow-up was bad. So now, game 81, Kurt Grossner versus Edmund Budrich, Halle, Germany, 1949. So white's third move is knight d2, so instead of Paulsen attack, it is the Tarrasch variation. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, that's how I heard someone else say it. And then we have knight c6, which is the Guimard defense. And then white goes knight e2. And then we have e5. E kills d5. Queen kills d5. c4. Knight b4. C kills d5, which is a mistake. And then black wins with knight d3, mate. So it's a smothered mate there. The next opening I want to show you is the Fred defense, also known as the Duras Gambit. There's only one game in this video that opens with the Fred defense, and that's game 82, Nicolas Caissar versus his brother. So the move is f5. F5, where is that? That's got to be, oh, it's way down at the bottom. It's the worst one. So yeah, I don't recommend the Fred defense. And then white goes e kills f5. And then we have g6. G6. What's this one? Which is actually a pretty bad move. I should have done more analysis on this. White's totally winning here. White plays d4. And then comes the worst mistake. G kills f5, which is instant death. White plays queen h5 mate. So it's basically a fool's mate with a few extra moves. Nicholas Caissar is the founder of the Caissar Awards. Perhaps you've heard of them? Me neither. The next opening I want to show you is the Barnes Defence. There's only one game in this video that opens with the Barnes Defence, and it's not even a serious game, but we're going to look at it anyway. Game number 83, Hans Klip versus Tom Bottema, Dutch Open, round 7, Dieren, the Netherlands, July 24th, 1990. So Black's first move is f6, which is almost as bad as the Fred defense. White's second is d4. And then we have... Black is giving it away here with g5. And then White plays queen h5 mate and wins. Apparently Tom Bottema threw this game because he wanted to go see a Madonna concert, and his opponent needed the win in order to earn an IM, or International Master title. Bottema has a FIDE rating of 2,217, and would not stumble unawares into fool's mate like this. I was a bit skeptical of this story, and while I can't confirm if it's true or not, I did a bit of research and was able to confirm that Madonna was in Rotterdam on this date as part of her Blonde Ambition World Tour. The next opening I want to show you is called the Borg Defense, also known as the Bosman Defense or the Macho Grob Defense. Fun fact, Borg is Grob spelled backwards. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe Borg spelled backwards is Grob. Who knows? It's a terrible opening for Black. I'm going to show you two games where the Borg defense is played, and White wins both of them. Game 84, Rhoda Masiyazi of Zimbabwe versus Akuakosife Esse of Togo, 41st Women's Olympiad, round 4, Tromsø, Norway, August 5th, 2014. Black's first move is g5, which is, yeah, it's really bad. It's almost at the bottom. And then White goes d4, and then Black makes a really, really bad move, which is f6, apparently attempting to defend the pawn on g5 that is being attacked by the bishop, but that loses because White now can do queen h5 check. It's basically just a fool's mate, but this time from White's point of view. It would seem that the game was thrown. Maybe she just thought f6 was a good way to defend that g-pawn. Team Zimbabwe defeated Team Togo 4-0. The event was won by Team Russia. Team Zimbabwe came in 108th out of 136 teams, and Team Togo came in 124th. And now we have game 85, Walter Thomas Mayfield versus William Robert Trinks, US Open, round 12. I told you about this earlier. Remember, Omaha, USA, August 1st, 1959. And White's second move is knight c3. And Black just makes a terrible, terrible blunder. f5, just as bad as f6, and we get the same kind of mate as before, with the Masiyazi versus Esse game, where Mayfield plays queen h5 mate, and this is the fastest possible win for White. Every player at this level knows about the 2 and 3 move checkmates, so the only reason Trinks would have played like this is to throw the game in protest, but I have no idea what he was protesting against. Or perhaps he just wanted the notoriety of having the record for the shortest game in the history of the US Open, a record which had previously been held since 1936 by Arnold versus Hanauer, a game which I covered earlier in this series of videos. Also, this was the final round of a Swiss system tournament, which Trinks already had no hope of winning, so maybe he threw the game just to be silly. I hardly need to include this game in this video at all, since it's not about some obscure trap that an unsuspecting person got sucked into, except that if I don't, I just know that a bunch of people are going to write in the comments, hey, what about Mayfield versus Trinks? The next opening I'm going to show you is the Robach Defence. There's only one game in this video where the Robach Defence is played, and that's game 86, where you have 14-year-old Sarratt Jallow of the Gambia versus 17-year-old Marie-Lucie Zephir of Mauritius, 43rd Women's Chess Olympics, round 6, Batumi, Georgia, September 30th, 2018. So black's first move is g6, g6, where's that? Here it is, Robach Defense, and white plays bishop c4. There we go. And then we have bishop g7. Oh, here we go. Queen f3. Knight f6. e5. White's winning already, and black makes it even worse by playing knight h5. And white plays queen kills f7, mate. Team Mauritius defeated Team Gambia 3-1 in this event. Team Mauritius came in 146th, and as I mentioned earlier, Team Gambia came in 149th. The next opening I'm going to show you is the Caro-Kann Defence. There's only one game in this video where the Caro-Kann Defence is played. Game 87. Chris W. Baker versus Bernard Cafferty. British Championship Qualification Tournament, Clacton-on-Sea, 1974. So black plays knight f6. And then we have knight c3. d5, which is the Scandinavian variation. e5, knight e4, knight ce2, knight c5, and here comes the mistake. White goes c3, taking protection away from that very important d3 square. And of course black plays knight d3 mate, now that there's nothing to kill the knight there. Again, you have to cut Mr. Baker some slack. He was only 15 or 16 years old when this was played, and he did grow up to become an international master, and he included this game in a book that he wrote himself about learning from your mistakes. The next opening I'm going to show you is Gedult's opening, also known as Barnes' opening, not to be confused with Barnes' defense. This is actually a different move on white's part, and it's a terrible move. It's one of the worst. It's one of the worst opening moves white can play, and if he follows it up with an even worse second move, he can find himself losing very quickly. I'm only going to show you one game that began with Gedult's opening, and that's Anonymous versus Gioacchino Greco, 1620. F3 is the move, and then black plays e6. E6 is okay. But white's second move is not okay. He plays g4, which is it's the fool's mate actually, and black plays queen h4 mate. This game very likely was never played. Supposedly Greco was playing with the white pieces, but he did not have the first move. On a side note, according to one article I read on the internet, and anything you read on the internet should be taken with a grain of salt, the rule that white always moves first was introduced by Johann Lowenthal in 1857, but not widely adopted until 1880. The rule was confirmed by Wilhelm Steinitz in 1889, who by then was the world champion, which added merit to the idea that white should move first. Some people have claimed that the rule is racist, promoting white privilege, blah blah blah. Also, the same people probably say it's sexist to refer to the chess pieces as men, even the queen. No, I'm not talking about Queen Elizabeth, although it's practically impossible to prove. I am of the opinion that with correct play on both sides, the game should be drawn, which is very likely true. Okay, as for this game here, the shortest possible checkmate, requiring the player who moves first to make the worst possible move on both his first and second move, was part of a series of games attributed to Gioacchino Greco, which were more likely demonstrations by Greco as to how not to play, rather than games that were actually played. I'm just including it here because it's in the database. Now we have an interesting opening to show you, the bird system. Another very bad opening for white. I'm going to show you 13 games. 13 is actually quite a bit, considering how many we had for the other ones. I'm going to show you 13 games where the bird system was played, and black wins all 13 of them. Now, white perhaps could have pulled off a draw, had he or she followed the opening up correctly, but in these cases, he or she did not. Game 89. Anonymous versus Scully. Correspondence played in the mid-1970s. White's first move is f4, actually, so f4, that's sort of middle of the road, but not great considering he could have played, he could have played e4 or d4. Those two moves would have been much better. Black plays d5, which is the Dutch variation. And then we have h3, which is an even losing-er move on white's part. Black plays e5. Losing-er, is that a word? Well, it is now, I've said it. And then we have f kills e5, which is death, because black has a mate in 2. Black plays queen h4 check, and white resigns. Had the game continued, of course, he would have played g3, which was forced, and then we have queen kills g3 mate. Of course, anyone could see that coming. And this concludes part 9. Only 2 videos left to go in this series. You're almost there. Please watch part 10 next. The link is in the description. Peace out.